Welcome to the tutorial for the hardest mode in God of War 2018. And there's going to be some more close and personal combat in this video than previous. The axe throwing technique of keeping distance and just throwing the axe hasn't really been working too well at this point in the game. The enemies have become a lot more aggressive and a lot better at closing the distance. So, you'll see here we have two of these Revenant enemies. And a few other enemies, and I found it best to just go all out aggressive. I mean, we've dealt with these enemies a lot of times before. And for these guys, you know, you just use maybe 2 or 3 arrows directly at them to stun them, and then you can get in some hits with Kratos. So I try to take them out real fast. And I mainly focus on them first, because they're the hardest enemies. These other enemies are pretty easy, so... you know, I'd rather get rid of the Revenant enemies first. And I think I used my rage mode on the second one just to get rid of them. Unless that's in another fight, because I think there's a few fights with these guys, so I can't remember. But yeah, the heavy cleave works well when you have some distance. That takes the life bar down fast on a lot of these enemies. But yeah, these enemies have become a lot better at closing the distance now when you try to stay back and throw the axe, so... I'm finding now that a lot of close combat is working better. But yeah, so now you have to destroy these 3 seals to open the chest. And this gives you a general idea of where they're at. I didn't want to take up too much of the video, you know, showing this kind of shit. But it gives you a general idea that they are in the vicinity of this area. And then you can get, I believe it's a horn upgrade for the rage bar. Which actually, it gave me enough to increase my rage bar, so... If you've been following so far, then you should have enough to get the next increase. And here you have to deal with at least one of these enemies. And I take out this asshole really quickly. Okay, yeah, it was 2 of them. I think this is where I used my rage on the second one. I got it confused because there was 2 fights in a row with these guys where there was 2 of them at once. But I think I use my rage here. You got to make sure they're stunned first, and then you can use rage and you can beat the shit out of them. They've become pretty easy enemies by this point in the game. And I think I show how to get this this item here. It's another summon item. I don't know how good it is. I haven't really fucked around with it yet, but it allows you to summon another type of animal. I think I've been using the crows lately, but it may be worth experimenting with different ones for different scenarios. I haven't found this mode nearly as hard as I thought it would be. It is definitely harder in the beginning when you're weaker, so far. But we'll see about the later fights. There may be some very hard shit later on, so I can't really make a full judgment yet. But it's not giving me a lot of trouble as of yet. These areas took me maybe around 50 minutes, but that was with whatever menu fucking around I did and cutscenes and things like that as well. But yeah, after you get that kid over to the other side, then he'll lower this for you. And you have to break some boards where the symbols are right over there. And then you'll be able to use him to get over to the other side, and you can get that chest. Get some spirit animal or some shit. Okay, this is the one that has the crows. Maybe, I guess this is where I got the crows at. And now with these enemies, I think I died once here. I found it best to just go all out aggressive on these enemies, because there ends up being a lot of them, and it can be tough if you just try to throw your axe at them. As I was saying, the axe throwing technique of just staying back and trying to throw axes at all the enemies hasn't been working nearly as well at this point, so I think it's good to be more aggressive in some of these fights. But when I can, I'll definitely exploit the distance technique, but when I have to fight up close, then I'll definitely do that as well. You know, whatever works. Some aerial combos here to do some extra damage. Those always work well. Take out one of the weak enemies with the axe throw. You know, it's useful for when they're weak. But overall, I found it easier just to go all out. You know, getting close. You have a lot of options in the combat in this game. You know, like when the axe is in the guy, he freezes so you can punch the shit out of him. There's a lot of interesting ways to use the various mechanics, which I like a lot about the game. I'm still learning shit. Mostly just from playing, though. I haven't really looked into the combat too much. Here you have two of these large enemies, but they're easy enough to get in close and fight. If they hit you, they'll do massive damage, but I mean, you know, it's easy to manage by this point in the game. You just want to watch out. You don't want to get cornered by both of them, because that can be dangerous, so you want to get out of those corners. Landed a nice heavy cleave there, which did a lot of damage. Since these guys are slow, you can get them in sometimes. And those are the crows. They seem to do decent damage. They have a high damage rating, so I tend to like offensive type of shit the best, so I go for higher damage attacks overall. All my armor and everything has pretty much been based around the highest strength and damage possible. You know, when I get it. I haven't gone out of my way to get any good armor or anything like that yet. Just basically what I pick up just by playing normally. But I always go for the shit with the high strength. I haven't really been going for defense. My defense is really not that high. And here there's a little crow you can kill for a little XP. And if you overlook this little overhang right here, you'll see a bunch of symbols, and you can press square to interact with that. And then Atreus will get that information, and you can go down to that sand bowl down there and use that information, and he'll unlock a chest. So that's all I show at this point. This little chest. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, but stay tuned. I'll definitely have more up. I should have some more up by tomorrow. Thanks for watching.